Peace, Chem family. Welcome to Self-Care Sessions with BaNAuset. I am BaNAuset, and this is our weekly community discussion on all things African holistic health. Okay, we meet here every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram. And if you can't join me for the live on Instagram, you can catch the recording on YouTube. So hi to everybody who's joining. Come on in. I see Kemet Yoga. I see Black Moses Freedom Festival. I see Jas Mizzle. Peace to all of you. You can come in, wave. Let me know where you are joining from. Okay? So if this is your first time joining us, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. I am BaNAuset. I am a licensed registered nurse and energy healer, and I work primarily with Black men and women to heal trauma holistically through African natural lifestyle. I use 4 primary healing modalities. That's nutrition, sacred movement, language, and energy healing. Okay. Also, on January 25th, we have an interest meeting for Kemetic Reiki Level 1. That is our energy healing course. So if you are interested, please click the link in my bio. If you're watching this on YouTube, I will put the link in the comment section. I'll pin it to the comment section. Okay. I see some returning people. Anke Ma'at to Sinet Ikurti. Anke Ma'at to TT Boy BK. Peace to you. Okay, peace to everyone who is joining. Okay, so the topic today is Black mental health. We're going to be talking about why therapy is not enough for Black people and what is missing. But before we begin, we're going to have a sound charge and a moment of silence for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., our beloved ancestor. Today is his Earth Day, okay? So let us pay our respects to our ancestor before we begin. Give thanks. Thank you all for joining me on that. Okay. And on that note, we will begin our discussion on Black mental health and why therapy is not enough for Black people. Okay. So mental health is a huge topic in the Black community because of our specific experiences as a people. Okay, we have particular mental health challenges that nobody else has because we've had a specific experience in this world, and we continue to have this experience that doesn't apply to everybody else. Okay. So I want to be clear before I even begin this discussion. I am not telling you not to go to therapy. Okay, I am not telling you that therapy is not important. In fact, it is very important and even more important for us. Okay, therapy is extremely important for us. However, it is not enough for the mental health of Black people. And I'm going to discuss exactly why that is. Now, there are certain things that have happened to us that in order for us to regain a sense of mental health, we have to undo, we have to unlearn, and we have to return to what we knew and who we were mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically prior to our destruction, prior to colonization and slavery. Okay? And I teach this in a course that's called The Alchemy of Black Healing. I have a playlist called The Alchemy of Black Healing also on YouTube where I talk about some of these things. And there are 12 points of re-Africanization. And this came to me through my teacher in the Kemetic tradition, Mfundishi Jehutimis. So there are 12 points of re-Africanization. Today, we don't have, 4 hours to go through them because I could talk about this forever. So I'm going to make 4 or 5 major points that we need to look at in terms of our mental health, what we need to learn and what we need to unlearn. Okay? So the first one is African history. The first one is African history. And as a matter of fact, I would call it African our story. Okay? Because so far, all we have learned about ourselves as African people is his story. Meaning the story of who we are as told by the same people who have been trying to destroy us for several centuries. So what we need instead is our story. Okay? Generally, most Black people, no matter where we are, whether we are on the continent, in the Caribbean, in the UK, in the States, in Canada, there is a standard of education that we get that does not give us any information about who we really are beyond slavery. And this is something that I experienced growing up. If I look back on my childhood, if I look back throughout high school and even in college, they never talked about African history. We went through world history. We went through American history. And in world history, we learned about the story of Europeans. We learned about their heroes. And most of their heroes were people who mistreated us. That's why they were their heroes. But we never learned anything about our place in this world and about our civilization. Now, what that does to our psyche as African people, if all you learn about yourself is that you were a slave and you believe that the only thing you ever were was a slave, that has a huge impact on what you think you are capable of being in this world. That has a huge impact on your self-esteem. That going to therapy is not going to fix. The only thing that fixes that is actually learning your story. And this is why therapy is not enough for the mental health of Black people. Again, I'm not telling you not to go to therapy, but therapy needs to be a supplement for your own cultural education. They need to work together. Okay? I have my little notes here, so. Who understands what I'm talking about? I want to be clear that those of you who are in this room understand what I'm talking about and that this is making sense to you. If you understand what I'm talking about, put a 1 in the chat. If you think this is, it's a little shaky, I'm not really seeing the correlation, put a 2 in the chat. Okay. Sister Akurti says it does. She gave me the black fits, which I know you understand, Sinette. Okay. Right. So just like if you were, for example, if you were adopted and you did not know anything about your mother, your father, your lineage, anything about your family, there would be a void in you that nobody else would be able to fill, which a lot of people who are adopted can attest to, which is why they go and search out who their parents are. They have to learn the truth about who they are, whether good, bad, or indifferent. The fact that they don't know creates an insecurity within them. And that is a similar thing to what we experience as African people, not knowing the truth about our story. And in fact, what we learn about ourselves is always negative. You never contributed anything in the world. You were savages. You were monkeys in the jungle. You were uncivilized. All of which is a lie. All of which is a lie. And so you find Black people behaving in ways that other people look at us and say, these people are insane. Or people think that we're stupid. And it's not that we're stupid, it's that we do not know who we are. And so if you start your story off with slavery and you end it at slavery, everything that you do after that seems like a huge accomplishment. This is why we're so quick to celebrate. This is the first Black Oscar winner. This is the first Black person to get a master's degree at this particular university. We celebrate these things because we think where we started was down here. We think that's the epitome of who we are. So whenever we accomplish these things, we think it's something great. And it's not. So what is the solution, right? What is the solution? The solution is to become familiar with those African-centered scholars who are our historians, not historians. They're our historians. They know our story. These are the babas and the mamas in our community, most of which we do not even know about because we're not looking for them. You have to have a mind to look for these people. How many of you in the comments know about Dr. Runoko Rashidi, Dr. Obadele Kambon, Mfundishi, Jehutimis, Baba Heru, Professor James Smalls? Okay. How many of you know about our African-centered scholars? If the only information you have about yourself is what the same people who are trying to destroy you have told you, then you don't know anything about yourself. And you will view yourself in that particular light, whatever it is that they have taught you, and act out accordingly. Which looks like what we see today, which is self-destruction. Someone said, get them into our schools. That will never happen. That will never happen. Malcolm X said only a fool would send his children to be educated by his enemies. They're not going to educate you on who you are because it is the lack of education that allows them to control you. That will never happen. So we have to have a mind to seek the information out for ourselves. To send our children to African-centered schools so that they know who they are. That is a foundational principle of self-esteem. Knowing who you are. When I see little white kids and little Black kids next to each other, some of these Black kids are so brilliant. So brilliant. But they hang their head down like this. And they don't know how to express their brilliance, especially in the presence of white people, because they look at them a particular way and they view themselves as beneath them. And I see these white kids and they're so confident. They're so confident, even in their mediocrity, because they know who they are. Smith Science says we are in the schools. It can happen. No, it won't happen. The schools are institutions that are not controlled by us. I don't know what we don't understand about that. We send our kids to white institutions all the time and they get mistreated. Why would you send your kid to be educated by somebody who hates you? Why does that make sense? They're not going to properly educate you about who you are, because to do that would put them at a disadvantage, and they are already genetically at a disadvantage. Do you think they did all of this by accident? It was very strategic. In separating you from the truth of who you are, that's their power. That's their power. This is why in the Alchemy of Black Healing playlist that I have on YouTube, and in all of the videos that I have on YouTube where I talk about narcissistic abuse, I juxtapose narcissistic abuse to the system of white supremacy, because it is the same thing. It's the exact same energy. They use the same exact tactics. So in the same way that a narcissist, they have a jealousy and an envy towards a person that they are trying to destroy or victimize. There's usually certain qualities about that particular person that make them want to victimize you. Something intrinsic about you that they know they could never have. And so the only way they can lower your vibration and bring you down to their level is by abusing you. They have to tell you that you ain't all that. You're less than me. They have to make you believe it. And it's the same exact tactic that the system of white supremacy has done with us. So the solution to this for our mental health, the solution, somebody asked me about the YouTube link. That's in my bio. Okay. When you click the link in my bio, there is a little YouTube icon at the very top. That's where my YouTube channel is. Okay. So the solution is you have to unlearn the things that have been taught to you about who you are. And you have to relearn our story from an African spatial perspective, an African centered perspective, meaning you begin to see yourself through your right eyes, through your right mind. And you begin to reject the ideas that have been taught to you by your enemy. That's the only way. I could tell this to you now. I could tell you that that's a lie. But until you go through the programming and learn it for yourself, go through your story and learn it for yourself, you will never really understand this. Smith Science 76. You stuck on this, baby. You stuck on this. We are in the schools. It can happen. So what do you think the black educators are doing in the schools? Most of the black educators don't even know our story. Most of the highest educated black people are used as tools against us, against the collective, because they are educated by their oppressors. This is what's happening in Africa right now. Why people are like, why does Africa have all the minerals and can't get it together? And it's constantly being taken advantage of by the Europeans and the Asians, because their leaders are educated in Europe. So they're seeing their own community through the eyes of the same people who are trying to destroy them. They don't have an African-centered education. They have a Eurocentric education. The schools are not owned and operated by us. You can't come in somebody else's house and move the furniture around. I don't know what y'all don't understand about that. We don't own those schools. It's only what you own and control that you can affect change in. They're only going to allow you to do so much in those schools. I appreciate your question. I do appreciate your question. So please don't think that I'm coming down on you. I'm just passionate. I'm just passionate about what I'm saying. So I appreciate the question, because I know that there are other people who are thinking this way and they don't understand. They don't understand, why is this not being taught in schools? They're never going to give you the tools to liberate yourself. They did not go through all of this trouble for nothing. They're not about to give it up. Okay? So I want some of you all who know about the African historians, our historians, to drop some names in the comment section if you know who they are. Do you know about Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop? Dr. Ben Yakinen? Do you know about Dr. Francis Cress Welsing? Dr. John Henrik Clark? Neely Fuller? You need to know these people. You need to know these people. And we have our historians in present day who were educated by them, who are teaching our story on their own. They don't have big institutions. You got to come and find these people. They're teaching their classes online. Dr. Joyce DeGruy. Thank you for that one, Kurti. Thank you. She's one of my favorites. So you have to learn who these people are and study their work. That's how you get to learn the truth of who you are and undo this. That is a critical component of Black mental health, learning the truth about our story. So I hope that made sense. Smith Science says, girl, I'm not worried. We need to be discussing the plan to develop more African-centered schools. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have some already. So we need to support the ones that are already in existence as well. Okay? I hope that was clear. Okay, so point number 2, right? Another one of the things that is necessary for Black mental health that we are not going to get in therapy is African-centered health. African-centered health. Now, that's my little piece of the puzzle. That's my little piece of the puzzle. All of us who are concerned about our condition globally has specific skills and talents that we are supposed to utilize for our community. My area is health and wellness. That's my passion. Okay? So why is this necessary? Most of us are so used to eating a Western diet that we have no idea that the majority of what we're eating is not even food. We have no idea. We think it's normal to eat bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches. We think it's normal to eat bologna sandwiches. We think that their food is normal. It's normal for them. But it's poison for us. And if your mindset is westernized, which the majority of us are, unless we have done the work of unlearning and relearning from our perspective, you won't see anything wrong with this. You'll think it's normal. Which is why when I introduce natural foods to my community, they look at me like I have 5 heads. Greens, I don't want to eat them greens. It don't taste good. It don't taste right. You get up in the morning and you're eating Jolly Ranchers and Doritos for breakfast. Where did you get that from? Where did you get that from? That's not our food. That's not how we ate as a people. But why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Because we were separated from our natural environment. We were separated from our natural environment. Most African people, most indigenous people globally, actually all indigenous people globally, were agrarian. We knew how to grow our own food. We grew vegetables. We picked our fruit from the trees. We did not eat GMO, lab food, microwave food. We were not eating out of cans. We were not eating processed meats, processed rice, plastic rice, processed pasta and breads. We ate those foods. We ate bread, but it was natural. Maximum maybe 5 ingredients. Look at the package of the average loaf of bread and see how many ingredients. There's a whole paragraph on there and stuff you can't even pronounce. Okay? Our food was our medicine. That's how we related to food. We understood that everything you consume becomes a part of your physical body. Fake food does not come out of an African mind. It just doesn't. We did not have hospitals because we did not need them. We had traditional bush doctors who used herbal medicine and natural food and water and herbs to heal us. Things like cancer and diabetes and all of these chronic illnesses that you see plaguing us, which the majority of us are leading in now. They were rare before foreign invasion. They were rare. We were not suffering like this. I see Sister Sarah in here. Peace to you, Sinette. She said that's definitely not food. Correct. Okay. And this applies to African people no matter where we are on the planet, whether on the continent, in the Caribbean, South America, Australia, wherever we were on the planet, we ate from the land. We were not inundated with these chronic illnesses like we are today. And now the majority of the people you see suffering with these illnesses, we're leading. How did that happen? Well, it happened when Westerners brought their food, their fake foods, into our indigenous lands. That's how it happened. And as they brought these processed foods into our lands, the people started to become sick. And so what did they do? They built hospitals. They built hospitals. So this is how they always do things. They create the problem and then bring you the solution. And still to this day, the majority of us are in and out of hospitals taking medications that never actually cure anything. They never actually cure anything. They never actually solve the problem. Because the root of the problem is what you're doing that's causing the disease in the first place, which they never tell you. So they brought their modern doctors, and now current day, we think that's the only form of medicine. As soon as we get sick, we love running into their hospitals. We trust them before we would trust our own holistic doctors. And they don't help us. But you will only do that if you are thinking through somebody else's eyes, through someone else's mind, and not your own right mind. There is a doctor by the name of Weston Price. He's actually a dentist, and he wrote a book called Nutritional Degeneration. And what he did in this book, he was very obsessed about the fountain of youth, about people who were able to maintain a youthful appearance and a youthful life throughout the span of time. So what he did is he went into these indigenous tribes around the world, and he documented certain things about the people. Now, because he was a dentist, what he focused on most was the teeth. Because the teeth are a measure of health. A lot of us don't know that. So your dental structure and your facial formation, like the symmetry of your face, is a measure of health. What he did was he documented the generations of those indigenous tribes that were eating off of the land, that were eating their natural cultural diet. This is why I talk about cultural nutrition in the high vibration nutrition course. I go in depth about this in that course, very in depth. Okay. So he documented how they look. In the book, you can see these pictures of their smiles and their face. Their faces, those who were eating their natural diet, their faces were beautiful, beautiful structures, nice cheekbones, nice symmetrical faces, nice teeth. And then as the Western foods, modern foods, became a staple in their villages, you could see how the facial structure and the teeth of the children changed. So the next generations started to have dental cavities, start to have crooked teeth, crowding of the teeth. Their faces weren't as symmetrical and as beautiful. So it's showing how the lack of nutrition was degenerating our DNA, degenerating our physical structure. And now here we are. You have 11-year-old girls with boobs all the way out to here from eating all that hormone chicken and hormone milk. Okay? You have children who are obese. Children not supposed to be that big. It's the fake food that y'all are eating. And even us as women, as black women, we never seen black women be so big ever in history. We ain't never been this big ever. 80% of us are overweight and obese. We have never been this big in history. It's this fake food that we're eating. So what is the solution? Well, obviously, if separating you from your culture is what created the problem, then returning to your culture is the solution. Your healing is in your culture. So again, do we know about our African-centered holistic practitioners? Do y'all know about Dr. Sebi? Some of y'all know about Dr. Sebi, right? Do you know about Dr. Laila Africa? Do you know about Dr. Jewel Pookrum? Do you know about Queen Afua? Do you know about our holistic practitioners and our herbalists? Those are some of our master teachers. But even in our local communities, you have African-centered holistic practitioners who are bringing us back around to health. You have yoga teachers. Those who have studied and are trained in Kemetic yoga. Okay? Like me. You have herbalists in your community. You have massage therapists. You have colon hydrotherapists. You have estheticians. You have EFT therapists. You have food therapists, food scientists, raw food therapists. Okay? This is who you need to go to learn about your health. It doesn't mean you can't visit the doctor if you choose to. What I tend to do is I'll go to the doctor to figure out what's wrong. And then I'll go to the medicine man and medicine woman to get the treatment. That's how I do it. Okay? So that's the solution. Now the third one, thank you for the love, Sanette Akurti. Thank you for being here, Sanette. The third thing that we need for our mental health that therapy is not going to address is African-centered beauty standards. African-centered beauty standards. Okay? The fact that we see ourselves through the eyes of the dominant society is a huge reason why our women in particular, but the men as well, are going through these great lengths to alter our physical appearance in ways that are harming us and even killing us. This is a huge mental health problem for Black people that therapy is not going to solve. It's not. Not on its own. Not on its own. Okay? What this is called is internalized racism. So it is where someone has beaten you down so badly to tell you that everything that we do is going to be based on the color of your skin and the way that you look. And we're going to deprive you of resources. We're going to hurt you on this basis. We're going to deprive you of the basic things that you need. We're going to abuse you on this basis and this basis alone. And because of it, you begin to hate yourself. And you begin to do things to undo all of those things that make you look like who you are, which you can never actually do. So you end up really just looking crazy. We have women who are altering their physical appearance with these eyelashes, these long 5-inch eyelashes, trying to get this Kim Kardashian look or Mediterranean look, and you look like Snuffleupagus. You look ridiculous and stupid, and you don't even realize it. You think you're doing something, you think you look good, and that's a part of the mental problem. You don't even see yourself for how you actually look. You look ridiculous. Some of y'all are so damn beautiful. So beautiful. I see girls with hair that's full, it's thick, it's luscious, and then I see them braid down the hair and glue some hair on top of it. You don't see something is wrong with you? Eurocentric beauty standards is a huge contributor to mental health problems in the Black community. Huge. Internalized racism. And it's something that therapy alone is not going to address. Another thing that you see is the BBL thing. And that one really make us look crazy. The whole BBL thing really makes us look insane because white women in particular have created plastic surgery for the purpose of imitating you. So remember I told you about that whole jealousy thing? Because they're so envious of the fact that you naturally have beautifully dark skin, beautiful lips, voluptuous bodies. Even when we're slim, we still got it in the right places. They got plastic surgery to get the big boobs, to get the butt, all of that. That was created to look like you. And now you go ahead and imitate the imitator, and you going to get in BBLs. This is a mental problem. This is a mental problem. The makeup on top of that. We didn't need makeup. We already have all the tones in our skin. Yes, I have some on. It's all right, but I do a little bit. I don't look like a trans when I put makeup on. Some of y'all overdo it. And it's because you're trying so hard not to look like yourself because you see yourself as inferior based on the way you have been treated. So another thing that I want to introduce when it comes to beauty standards is the eye color thing. Okay? The eye color. A lot of us have this impression that lighter eyes is more attractive than darker eyes. And why is that? Because lighter eyes are associated with those of the dominant society. Now, there's a concept of symptomatic versus symbolic thinking, right? Symbolic thinking means that you only understand something based on what somebody else told you. So, for example, with light eyes, people told you that that was more beautiful because it's associated with whiteness. Symptomatic thinking means that you understand something based on what it is. It is what it is. So what are the function of eyes? The function of eyes are to see. It's for vision. That's the function. So it would make sense that the eyes that have the best function, the highest functioning eyes, would be considered the best. Wouldn't that make sense? If you're thinking symptomatically. If you were thinking along those terms, brown eyes would be the superior eyes. That melanin in your eyes actually allows you to have better vision. But if you are thinking symbolically, you're going to think the blue eyes are more beautiful. And blue eyes have horrible vision. Blue eyes have the worst vision of all eyes. But you want them. Because you're thinking symbolically. It's associated with whiteness. And so you'll go and get colored contacts and put them blue eyes in your head. Eurocentric beauty standards is a huge mental problem for us that therapy alone does not address. Same thing with our skin, right? We have an issue with colorism in our community, right? Our skin, somebody here sent me a request to be in a live video. I'm going to give anybody who wants to be on a chance to join at the end. So I have 2 more points to make, and then I'll give you an opportunity to get on. So thank you for requesting I Am Her Stories. I would love to hear what you have to say. Okay? So the skin color, same thing. What is the purpose of skin? The purpose of skin is a protective mechanism. It houses all of your internal organs. It keeps bacteria and debris and all other things out of the body. So it encloses your organs. Okay, that's what skin is for. It's for protection. Melanated skin, on that fact alone, should be considered superior. The melanin is a protective mechanism. It protects you from the sun. It also has healing properties. So when you cut yourself and you see that you have a little dark scar at the point of where you cut yourself, that's melanin rushing there. It has healing properties. Y'all can look up the book Melanin by Dr. Laila Africa, who goes into this in detail. So if you are thinking symptomatically in terms of it is what it is, what is the function of skin, and what does dark skin do? Then you would automatically see our skin, as dark as it is, as superior. You definitely would not see it as something inferior. But if you are thinking symbolically, meaning you only understand something based on what somebody else taught you, meaning somebody taught you that white skin was better than black skin. So in your mind, you think that that's a prize. The lighter it is, the better it is. White skin is better. That's a huge mental problem for us. Now, if you're looking at it symptomatically, meaning it is what it is, skin that lacks melanin does not have the ability to absorb sunlight the same way that ours is. In fact, most of them are allergic to the sun. Most of them age like ripe bananas because of their skin. But because of that internalized racism, you see things symbolically. And you believe that there's something superior about white skin. Which is why therapy is not enough in terms of mental health for black people. When we have issues of internalized racism, it's not enough. Skin bleaching is a huge problem in Africa and in the Caribbean. Huge problem. Because this is what the women are thinking. They're busting their skin up. And they don't even look right. You don't even look light skinned. You look gray and ashy. And other people are looking at you like, you look off. You look crazy. You can see the mental illness on the person. How many people are having that addressed in their therapy sessions? They're not. Which is why therapy alone is not enough for the mental health of Black people. It's not enough. I am her stories. I see you. I'm going to let you get on it a little bit, okay? So what is the solution? The solution is to learn about neuromelanin and what it does. That's the solution. Learn about your physical body, your physical avatar from an African-centered perspective. Learn about what it does. Learn about the structure and the function of your melanin. That which makes you Black. Did you know that melanin is literally worth more than gold? They're selling that stuff by the gram, and it is literally worth more than gold. Did you know that they have melanin conferences to discuss this thing that makes you the hue that you are? Trying to figure out how to get it. And you're not invited, by the way. They have these melanin conferences in Europe, and you're not invited to the conversation. Okay? That's the trick. They're tricking you out of pride in yourself and loving yourself, because it makes it easier for them to mistreat and abuse you and get what it is that they need. Meanwhile, they're trying to get it for themselves. Same thing with our hair, right? We're the only people who have hair like this. And most of us think it is something negative. We think it's something bad, which is why you see the lace fronts and the hair all the way down to your knees. It's an overcompensation. You understand? It's an overcompensation because you feel like you lack something. But if you understood the science of the hair, and that our hair, which coils up like this, it's a reflection of all of the other living DNA structures in the world. Everything else coils up just like this, which is why it's called 9 ether hair. This is God hair. It's a reflection of all other living things. Look at the way that the leaves on the tree grow. Don't it look like this? Don't it look like this hair? It grows up towards the sun. Everybody else's hair grows flat towards the ground like dog fur. You're the only one who has hair that reflects everything else in the universe. 9 ether hair. You are 9 ether beings. What I'm saying is not feel good stuff. This is scientific. You can look it up yourself. African people are 9 ether beings. That's talking about the structure of our DNA. Highest form. You have Indians, for example, who are 7 ether. And you have Caucasians who are 6 ether beings. One step above primates, which vibrate on a 1 to 5 ether DNA level. We are 9 ether beings. That's what our hair is. In fact, the ancient Kemet, the word for hair is nap. K-N-A-P-P. We think nappy is something bad. That was actually our word for hair, nap. You understand? So this is why it's important. Part of the solution is not just going to therapy. Part of the solution is learning about who you are, the structure of who you are from an African-centered perspective. Okay? This is going to help you to undo the lies that were taught to you about yourself. So I'll say that when I first contemplated the idea of going natural, there was a shift that had to happen for me mentally. This was back in 2012 when I was on my hair journey trying to figure out how do I get my hair healthy and longer. And I was watching all these YouTube videos and I was seeing these girlies with these beautiful, long, natural heads of hair. And when I thought about me going natural, I had not been natural since I was maybe 10 or 11 years old. So the idea of it actually scared me. It frightened me. In my mind, I was so used to my relaxer and my Dominican blowout. I'm like, I'm going to look ugly with my hair. That's what I thought. Am I going to still be able to look pretty with my real hair? I didn't know. I didn't know what it would look like. But because I'm a person that I challenge myself and I go within, I had to really question that. I had to look at myself and say, is this what you really think about yourself? Do you really think that the divine creator made a mistake on you? And so I had to challenge myself that no matter how my hair came out, no matter how nappy it was, that I would figure out how to make myself look beautiful with my hair. That's how I started my hair journey and growing my hair out, growing the relaxer out. Best decision I ever made for my self-esteem. Best decision I ever made. So that is a part of the solution, is in making your features the most desirable and accentuating it. You have to reject the Eurocentric beauty standard and embrace your own. Everything that makes us black should be the standard for you in terms of beauty. So Afro hair should be the standard, not long, wavy hair. That should not be your standard of beauty. Dark skin should be your standard. White skin should not be your standard of beauty. Full lips should be your standard. Full noses should be your standard. We make every kind of feature out there, so it really doesn't matter. But the epitome of what blackness is has to be your standard. And this is how you begin to undo those mental health issues associated with internalized racism that come out through our issues around beauty. Peace to you, Professor X. Professor says, love this woman, be speaking facts. Thank you. Okay. In terms of the way that we dress, we need to make that the standard. Instead of chasing behind Eurocentric brands, making them rich. We think that their stuff is top of the line, that is high fashion. It's only the top because we are making it that. We are the original human beings on the face of this earth. We are the gods of the earth. Whatever we say, go. Period. Whatever we say, go. It's not hot until we say it's hot. Y'all haven't realized that yet? Until we give the stamp of approval and say this is hot, it ain't hot. Everybody studies the buying trends, the spending trends of black people to determine what they're going to put out. Why? Because we set the standard. We set the trend. So imagine if we set the trend that wearing African clothes is the standard. Imagine if we set the trend that Afro hair is the standard, that dark skin is the standard, African prints is the standard, African style of dress is the standard. Do you see how we start to empower our own communities and we take the power away from them? They're getting so much of our money and so much of our energy, and they literally cannot exist without us. We have a parasitic relationship with them. They on our backs bleeding us. And you're feeding them. You're the one making it hot. It ain't hot without your approval. So that's the solution. That's the solution. I have one more point. Oh, I'm lying. I have two more. I'm gonna let I Am Her Stories get on for a minute. I want to hear what you have to say. Let me see if I can do this. I just accepted your request. I Am Her Stories. I hope you are ready. If you're still in here, because I see the. Okay, you may have to go out and come back in and send the request again, because I'm hitting accept, but it's not coming up. Okay, so maybe you took a break. All right. Black mental health. Why therapy is not enough and what else is needed. The next one is African-centered spirituality. That's what else is needed. We have absolutely no idea of how much damage religion has done to our psyche. Okay, it looks like she's back in here. Let's see. I Am Her Stories. Let's see. I hit accept. I don't know why it's not allowing you to join. I don't see it coming up. I hit accept and that. I don't know, maybe you need to close the app and try again. Okay? So African-centered spirituality. This is what's missing. African people had a divine connection to our creator. We did not have religion. Okay? We didn't need religion. We didn't need religion. Our spirituality was based on our connection to nature and to all living things. We understood that the divine creator exists in all things, and we did not need a middleman in order to speak to or connect to the creator. The very word religion, the root of it comes from the word religare, which means to bind. So the essence of what religion is binding and control. Okay. Religion puts you in a box. You can only see the world through this box. Spirituality, there is no box. Everything is limitless. So you have a much more full view of the planet that you live on, of the universe that you live in, that you're a part of. Okay? One of the biggest problems with religion right now is that we're the only people currently who are worshiping a deity that does not look like us. This is a huge mental health problem for Black people. And I know a lot of us do not want to hear this, but it is the truth. It's a huge mental health issue. Nobody else does this. Nobody else is doing this. Every other group of people who have a God, their God looks like them. Even if they weren't the original creators of that particular deity, for example, with Buddha. The original images of Buddha have Buddha with curly, kinky hair. He has Bantu knots in his hair. But they make the image look like them. We don't think about what it does to our psyche to have an image, and the main image is that white image of Jesus. Okay? To have an image of someone who looks like the same people who are terrorizing you. It is a major part of the reason why we will never ever fight back against white people. Many of us subconsciously, I'm not saying consciously, subconsciously view them as gods. We worship them because they look just like the God that you are praying to. Another issue that I see with religion is that most religious people, Christians in particular, will tell you that they don't believe in ancestral worship. So they have a huge problem with those of us who practice African spirituality and giving reverence to our ancestors. It's not ancestor worship, it is reverence and honor for our ancestors. Now think about it. Can you imagine if you gave everything that you had, you sacrificed your life, you experienced trauma, beatings, all these other things just so that your descendants will be able to exist and have a better life? And then now, late centuries or generations later, your great-great-grandchildren view you as a demon. They won't even say your name. They won't honor you. They won't give any respect. They won't put no respect on your name because their religion has taught them that their ancestors are demons. You're not supposed to honor your ancestors. You're only supposed to talk about Jesus. Jesus is the one who died for us. No, your ancestors died for you. Your ancestors died for you. It is the ultimate disrespect. Yes, Professor X. It's the ultimate disrespect. And another part of the mental health problem is that you are worshiping someone who all evidence shows that this is a fictional character that did not exist. You cannot find the bones of anybody in the Bible. You can't find the bones of these people. They never existed. Meanwhile, your own cultural icons from your African ancestry, you can go there and look at their tombs, and you think that that's irrelevant. So you're believing in things that there's no tangible evidence for in reality. Like, for example, you'll hear Christians a lot of the time have this patriarchal idea that women came from a man's rib. If I said to you, if you asked me who my mom was, and I said to you, I don't have no mama, I came from my daddy's rib, you would look at me like I was slow. You would look at me like I was slow, because that doesn't make sense. Everything in reality does not match up with your beliefs. It doesn't match up with what you believe. And you don't make sense of that. You just go along with it and keep repeating it. That's a form of mental illness. That is a form of mental illness, that you are believing in something that has no tangible evidence in reality. That in fact goes against everything in reality. And I understand that me saying that alone is not going to change anybody's mind when it comes to religion. That's not the point, because people who are deeply religious are not religious because it makes sense. They're not interested in knowledge. Another mental problem that religion creates for us is that it subjugates the women. So the story of Christianity itself, it subjugates the woman, and it comes out of a mind of white male domination. African spirituality, for example, in ancient Kemet, we had, this is one of the most prominent symbols that come out of ancient Kemet, the Ankh, right? And the Ankh is a symbol of life. You'll often see Christians wearing a cross. We call it the symbol of death, really, okay? Because I guess in their story, Jesus died on the cross. But in the symbol of life, it represents a trinity. So the top part of the symbol right here, this represents the womb of the woman. And then you have the bottom part of the symbol here, which represents the birth canal meeting with the man's phallus. See how dope that is? And then the two linear parts on the side represent the fallopian tubes, or the children. That is our original trinity: man, woman, and child. Life cannot exist without it. Man, woman, and child. Now, in Christianity, they hate the woman so much that they took her out and put a ghost there. So instead of man, woman, and child, they got son, father, and ghost. The Son, the Father, and the Holy Ghost. No woman. That's how they feel about the woman. And that creates a lot of issues with women mentally, and with men mentally, in the way that they treat women when they come from that point of view, that religious point of view. The majority of African people globally have been subjugated through religion. Two major religions. We were dominated by Arabs, who were Muslim, and whites, Europeans, who were Christian. And still to this day, the majority of us still practice Christianity and Islam. And we don't think anything of it. We don't think anything of it. However, those of us who are millennials, those of us who are in, who came through in the 70s, in the 80s, and the 90s, there's a huge push towards African spirituality. There's a huge interest in African spirituality because we know that something is missing. We know that something is missing. And so that is the solution. Research your own religion. Don't believe anything that I say. I'm not here to make you believe anything that I say. Go and research it for yourself. What was the origins of your religion? Where did it come from? How did you become a Christian? A lot of y'all think that you became Christians because Europeans just introduced some new religion to you and you said, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good. I'm gonna just forget about all those things that all of those ancestors said for all of those different generations. We just put that to the side, forget about that. And your religion sounds a whole lot better than mine, so I'm gonna go with that. That's not how that happened. That's not how that happened. They terrorized our ancestors into accepting that religion. They destroyed our communities. They destroyed our nations in mass numbers. They forced it upon us through violence. And to me, it is a form of ancestral treason to continue that legacy, knowing how it started, knowing that it didn't come from us, knowing how it was used. You know, you've heard the saying before that when they came to Africa, we had the land and they had the Bibles. They gave us the Bibles. And when we prayed and looked down, they had the land and we had the Bibles. Y'all have heard that, but y'all don't really think about what that means. They use it to subjugate you mentally. They have a hold on you spiritually because we're the most spiritual people. We're very deeply connected spiritually. And so they knew that if they could control us through spirituality, through religion, and disconnect us from our spirituality, that they would have us. They would have us in the palm of their hands, that we would not be able to break free from the hold that they have on us. TT Boy BK says religion is also passed down in the family. Yes, it is. And most of the time when you try to veer off from those religions, your family is not going to accept you. They're not going to accept you. They're not going to understand why you're doing this because they haven't done the work of deprogramming. They haven't done that work. So they most of the time they will not understand. So what is the solution? The solution is to understand how African people viewed creation and spirituality before foreign invasion. That's the solution. I would like you all to become familiar with the book Spirituality Before Religion by Professor Kaba Kamene. I would like you all to become familiar with Spiritual Warriors Are Healers by Mfundishi Jehutimis. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. Once you know, you will never go back to being the same person as when you did not know. Never. There are 5 main things that religion does not teach us that spirituality gives you the possibility of understanding. Okay. Professor X says, can I rewind this live? I need to write those books down. I am going to save the live for 72 hours on Instagram. And then after that, it will not be available on Instagram. It'll be on my YouTube channel. So you'll have to go to YouTube to see the live. Okay? Super Duper Cam says, repeat the second book, please. Actually, I have it right here. It's called Spiritual Warriors Are Healers by Mfundishi Jehutimis. This is what the book looks like. Spiritual Warriors Are Healers. This book has so much information in it. I can't even get into it. I can't even start. I can't even start. Just get the book. It's worth every penny. Every penny. Okay? So in order to have an understanding of yourself, you have to be aware of 5 domains. And Mfundishi, the author of that book, talks about this. Okay? One is the mineral domain. Okay? The earth is a mineral. The sun is a mineral. You are a mineral. Most of us lack information about the mineral domain, which is why you hear a lot of religious people, highly religious people, talking about how using crystals is demonic. Lack of information about the mineral domain. Crystals are minerals. They're made up of minerals, the same minerals that we are made up of, just in a different structure. They're rocks. And y'all only think about the minerals that they tell you are okay. Again, this is symbolic thinking. You only know what something is based on what someone told you. So certain crystals are okay. Gold and silver, y'all think is fine. Granite is fine. Sapphire is fine. But rose quartz is demonic. Turquoise is demonic. Tiger's eye, shungite, because you don't know what they are, because you lack knowledge about the mineral domain. Okay. The next is the plant domain. A lot of us do not understand the purpose of plants and how indigenous people, we use plants for our medicine. We had a very spiritual relationship with the plant domain. We knew how to use plants to heal ourselves. We took care of the earth in a particular way. We were not chopping down whole forests full of trees. We understood that we need those in order to breathe, that we have a reciprocal relationship with plants. We help them to breathe and they help us to breathe. It's a reciprocal relationship. Even when we took things from the earth, we did not just plow up the earth and just take and take and take without replenishing it. It's a reciprocal relationship. That's how we view the plant domain. Then you have the human domain, us, our physical bodies, knowing how your organs work and how to keep your avatar, because you are not your physical body, you are the spirit that lives within this body. This is your vehicle throughout this lifetime. And it's a temple. That's how we viewed our body. We had a certain level of understanding about the human domain, human relationships, communication between humans, how to love, emotional intelligence. Okay, the human domain, the animal domain. We also had a very divine relationship with animals, which is why we can communicate with animals in a particular way. We had a respect for animals. We learned from animals. All of the animals that existed on this planet before us. We got here after them, and we learned how to exist on planet Earth from watching the animals. They have a purpose here on this planet, and it's not just to be your food source. But when you are disconnected, that's what you think. You think it's okay to kill animals just for a bag, all willy-nilly. And it's not that we did not use animals, we did, but we had a certain respect for them, that things were done in terms of a sacrifice. We did not just wipe out whole species of animals like that. That is not something that comes out of the African mind, because we had an understanding of the animal domain. And then the spiritual domain, which permeates all five. You understand that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. You understand that the divine creator, that there's one source of creation, one divine mind, which we call nature. The ancient Kemites called nature. It is very likely the origin of the word nature, because that's how we view the Creator, that it is expressed in all things that exist. There was never an idea of a separation from God, that God was some man in the sky pulling the strings, and that we needed a middleman, Jesus, to get to God. The idea of heaven and hell, that's not an African idea of a God and the devil. That's not an African idea. Okay? So that is the solution. Understand spirituality before religion. How did we view the Creator? How did we view divinity? Okay? And my last one, my last one, because I'm losing my voice. I thank y'all for being here with me tonight. The last thing that is important to the mental health of Black people, or the last one we'll discuss for today, is an African language. And this is something that you're not going to get in therapy. Okay? Professor X says, thank you for sharing this information. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all of your feedback. Okay? African language. So language was one of the things that invaders used to separate us from ourselves. They did a number of things to separate us from ourselves. They took our names away from us, our language away from us, our food away from us, our land away from us, our names away from us. And that allowed them to then superimpose whatever ideas they wanted onto us and make us believe them. And that's the state that we see ourselves in now. It's a fragmented state where you know going through your life that something is missing, but you don't know what it is. And even though you're doing all of the right things, all of the things that were taught to you to do, going to school, getting your education, getting a good job, getting a car, getting a house, all of those things, and you still feel like something is missing and you don't know why. It's all of those pieces that they took. And that has a huge effect on our mental health. And in order to make yourself whole again, you have to go and get them. Go and snatch them. Go get them and put them back together. That's how you make yourself whole. That's what holistic healing is about. Mind, body, emotions, and spirit. So the language was one of the things that they took from us to separate us from ourselves. Baba Mfundishi used to say that if you are a Black person and you can only express yourself through a European language, that you are mentally handicapped. And it's true. It's true. You have a major deficit in communication and self-expression when you can only express your African spirit through a European language. It does not have the capacity to allow you to express yourself, the fullness of who you are, which is why you're seeing that no matter what language we speak as African people, we always create slang and add words in it. We don't ever speak the European language the same way they do. So you have Jamaicans who speak British English, but they don't really speak British English the way white Britons do. We speak patois. It's a mixture of different African languages coming out of West Africa and the English. Because the English alone doesn't allow us to fully express ourselves. Same thing with Haitians. Haitians speak French, but they don't speak French the same way the French do. What do they have? Haitian Creole. They speak Creole. Black Americans do the same thing. Why you think you speak in Ebonics? You don't speak English like white Americans. Y'all don't speak the same. Because the language does not allow you the full expression of your African self. It's African people speaking a European tongue. If y'all understand what I'm saying, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2. Okay? The language doesn't allow you the full expression of yourself. Even Dominicans, right? Dominicans who speak Spanish, other people who speak Spanish, like Venezuelans and Argentinians, I've heard them plenty of times say they don't understand what the hell Dominicans be saying. They put all their words together and they speak 10,000 miles a minute when they speak Spanish, because it's African people speaking European language. The tongue is still African. The spirit of the language is still African. TT Boy BK says the words we use don't even mean what they mean. Fact, we give whole other meanings to the English words or to whatever European language we're using, because we need that in order to fully express our spirit, even if we're speaking their language, which is why it's very, very important to learn an African language. I'll expand on that in a second. Okay. The English language, for example, in itself is a curse. The English language has so many things that we say on a regular basis that curse us. Even something as simple as saying good morning. Morning, which means to grieve. And you wake up at the top of the day and say good morning. This is why you hear a lot of people say grand rising. And some people think it may be a silly thing, but it's a way of affirming to set your mind a different way. It does make a difference. Okay. The word black in the English language has so many different negative connotations. It's endless, actually. So it's almost impossible for you to use the word black in the English language and think anything good of yourself as a black person. Comment down below all of the negative ways that the word black is used. You have blacklisted, black sheep, black cloud, right? The black cat is the one that is bad luck if you cross a black cat. Black magic, black bald, right? Black hearted. You got the black market, black death. Every single use of the word black is something negative. So they don't use the language to curse you. You understand? So what is the solution? The black internet, the dark net. That's true. The dark net, dark ages. So you see how this affects us mentally? That if every time you hear the word black, it has a negative connotation, which is why a lot of black people don't even want to call themselves black. You got people looking like me talking about, I'm not black. I'm not black. I'm Jamaican. I'm not black. I'm Dominican. African Americans. I'm not black. I'm Native American. Nobody want to be black. And if you think about the language, you would understand why. They don't use that word to describe anything good. Even when we are talking about getting things that are necessary for ourselves as Black people, we always have to water it down and include somebody else in it because it sounds too strong to say Black. So we say Black and brown. We say people of color. We have to put in all these other words because it make you feel so ashamed to even say the word Black. You understand? Ooh, I like that name. I am the blacker berry. Yes. You right on time, sis. I am the blacker berry. Yes. Okay. So what is the solution? The solution is African language. And I'm so mad my cards are all the way over there because I really wanted to show them to you. But I'm not going to get up and show it to you. I'm not going to get up to get them. So the solution is an African language, which is why language is one of the healing tools that I use with Kemetic Wellness. If you don't know, I created a flashcard set that teaches the Middle Netra. The Middle Netra is the language of the Nile Valley, what we know as Kemet. And this language is extremely important because it is the only language, the only classical African language that we have access to that has a vast amount of information on literally every subject that you could imagine. Science, health, mathematics, spirituality. That gives you insight into the mind of African people, who African people were, what our culture was prior to foreign invasion. Let me say that again. The Middle Netra gives you access to the mind, the thinking, the culture of African people prior to foreign invasion. So a lot of us think we're so far gone because of the destruction that's happened in our community that how do we repair ourselves? How do we put our minds back together? This is how. And how do I know? Because this is what I did. My first teacher in African history and in the Kemetic tradition taught me through the Middle Netra. I did not know that I needed the Middle Netra. I didn't know that I need that. It wasn't something that I sought out, but I was already on my journey to understanding myself as a person of African descent, who I am, who my ancestors were prior to foreign invasion, prior to us being made into this group of niggas. Because that's what they wanted us to be. Prior to that mentality, what we see now, who were we before that? How did we think? How did we view the Creator? How did we relate to each other? The Middle Netra, the words literally mean words of the divine. That's what Middle Netra means, words of the divine. The entire language is a language of affirmations. It's a high vibrational language. There's no curses in the Middle Netra. We don't understand that there are certain thought forms that come only out of speaking European languages that you cannot escape from unless you have an African language to speak. We don't understand that. That's what learning the language actually does. The language itself is a deprogramming and a re-Africanization. Do you understand? And I posted about them today. I posted a review of them. The cards are so beautiful. The cards, actually, I am going to get them. I'm sorry. I have to. Give me a second. have to share these with you. Okay. So these are the BaNAuset flashcards that teach the language of ancient Kemet. It's a set of 3. Okay. They're absolutely beautiful. Sinet Ikurti says, yes, they are. And she would know because she has her set. So I'm going to show you what they look like. It's a very high quality deck that opens like this. It's a top bottom box. And this is what the cards look like. Y'all, I put so much time and energy into this. You have no idea. They're laminated, beautifully laminated, black with gold edges. This is what they look like. And the way that we created the deck, right, is it's teaching you symptomatic thinking because it's teaching you what the symbols actually mean. So if you were to see this symbol, they may just tell you that this is the letter A and you don't know why it's the letter A or what the symbol actually is. This is literally a hawk vulture. So you have the image of what the glyph is. It's a hawk vulture. And you have the image at the bottom. And then on the back, it gives you the letter of what it represents and also what it is. It's a hawk vulture and how to pronounce it. And then at the bottom of it here, and I remember Ikurti, she did her review on it. I'm going to post that soon, Sinet. She did her review of the cards where she said this was her favorite part because it teaches you how to write the language. So you see on the front, this is how, you know, if you're not an artist, you may not be able to draw that just like that. But this is a simple way to draw it. You see how easy that is? So you can begin to practice the language. Okay. So this is what they look like. Beautiful cards. Just to show you what some of them look like. Okay. So the BaNauset, this is why I teach it. Okay. So we use the BaNauset as our classical African language, specifically for the reason that it existed prior to foreign invasion. And we also use Kiswahili as more of a common language to speak in. Kiswahili. Okay. So that is the solution for those of us who only speak a European language. Learn an African language. And those two specifically are really important because they don't have so much of the other admixtures. Like some of the other African languages have adopted certain concepts and have certain words added to the language because of intermixing with foreigners. So they will say certain things that come out of foreign ideas. These languages, this classical language doesn't have any of that. That's why it's so important. So it's reframing your mind. It is therapy. It is mental health therapy that you will not get in modern day therapy. Okay. So that's what I have for you all today on the topic of mental health and why therapy is not enough for Black people. And those are the solutions that I have for you. I hope you found this helpful. If you want to watch the full video, go ahead and check it out on my YouTube channel. Also, I have an interest meeting coming up on January 25th. It is free. It's an interest meeting for those who want to learn about the energy healing course, the Kemetic Reiki course that is coming up. Interest meeting again is January 25th. So if you want to sign up for that, the link for that is in my bio on Instagram, and I will type it on YouTube and pin it to the comments section. TT Boy BK says, I appreciate you so much. Peace. Likewise, thank you for being here. A tap to my Sister Tamika. I see you, Sinette. Okay. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you next Monday. And peace.